1971. A basement at Stanford University. And in less than a week, this experiment spiraled so far out of control that the man who built it had to be talked into stopping. That so simply it's almost hard to believe. A classified ad. Male college students wanted for a study of prison life. $15 a day, 2 weeks. 75 men applied, and the psychologist running it, Philip Zimbardo, handpicked the 24 who tested the most stable. No criminal history. No psychiatric red flags. The healthiest people he could find. Remember that. It matters later. A coin flip split them. Prisoner, guard. That's all it took to decide who'd spend the next 2 weeks in a cage and who'd be holding the keys. And the question underneath it all, the one worth sitting with, is this. If you take good people and drop them into a bad place, does the place win? Zimbardo didn't ease anyone into it. The prisoners were arrested at their actual homes, by real police, in on the study, handcuffed, fingerprinted, blindfolded, driven to a basement dressed up as a jail, stripped, deloused, given smocks with no underwear underneath, and a chain bolted around one ankle. And from that moment forward, no names, just numbers, like it could erase who they'd been an hour earlier. The guards got khaki uniforms, mirrored sunglasses so no one could see their eyes, wooden batons, and almost no instructions at all, just keep order. One rule, no physical violence. That was the only fence around what came next. One of them, a guard named Dave Eshelman, decided to invent a character for himself. A drawling, sadistic warden he based on a movie villain. The other guards started calling him John Wayne. He'd later say he was just testing how far the experiment could go. At the time, nobody stopped him. Day 1, quiet, almost nothing. Day 2, the prisoners rebelled, barricaded their cell doors, tore off their numbers like it might give them their names back. And that's when it turned. The guards hit back with fire extinguishers, stripped the prisoners naked, traded force for something worse, humiliation, push-ups until collapse, solitary in a broom closet they called the hole. 2 a.m. head counts, for absolutely no reason except that they could. By day 3, prisoner 8612 was screaming, sobbing, coming apart in real time, in front of people who were supposed to be watching for exactly this. And they almost didn't let him go, because they thought he might be faking it. He wasn't faking. They released him. And the study kept running anyway. He wasn't the last. Before it was over, 4 more prisoners would break down the same way and be pulled out early. 5 out of 10. Half the prisoners in the study couldn't finish it. Here's the part that still gets under my skin. Zimbardo wasn't just watching from behind glass. He'd made himself the prison superintendent. He was inside it, living it. And by his own admission, years later, he stopped being able to tell it was an experiment at all. It took one person from outside to break the spell. A graduate student, Christina Maslach, who Zimbardo happened to be dating, walked into that basement, watched for herself, and was the only one of nearly 50 visitors who looked at it and said, "This is wrong." That conversation is the reason it ended at all. Planned for 14 days, stopped at 6. For decades, that was the whole story, taught almost like scripture. Ordinary people, handed power and a mask of anonymity, turned cruel almost instantly. It got folded into Abu Ghraib, into every conversation about how good people do terrible things. Zimbardo's answer was always the same. It wasn't them. It was the situation. But starting in the late 2010s, that story started to crack. A journalist named Ben Blum went digging in 2018, and a French researcher, Thibault Le Texier, went further, back through Zimbardo's own archived tapes. And John Wayne, the guard with the drawl, turned out to be only part of it. The recordings caught staff actively coaching guards to be harsher. Not improvising cruelty, being told to. Prisoner 8612, the one screaming, sobbing, the one this whole story hinges on, admitted years later that his breakdown was partly performed. A fast way out of somewhere he wanted to leave. No control group, no comparison. Just a handful of young men who'd answered an ad for a prison study, already carrying every prison movie they'd ever seen into that basement with them. Zimbardo pushed back hard against the criticism. He never accepted that it undid his central point. But by 2018, the textbooks had already started quietly walking it back. So where does that leave us? Not with clean proof of who we secretly are underneath. Something more useful maybe, and harder to sit with. A warning about what happens when the person running the experiment stops being able to see outside it. That's part of why we have independent ethics oversight in research now, because someone has to be allowed to walk in and say, "This is wrong," and not be the only one who does. Zimbardo spent the rest of his life defending this story, even as it came apart piece by piece in front of him. And maybe that's the most human way to leave it. Not a myth to keep repeating, not a hoax to dismiss, just a reminder of how far a story can travel, on the strength of us wanting it to be true.